lived in Indonesia for 2 months, specifically in Bali and Jakarta.
And in this video, we're going to share our honest opinion in 5 chapters that covers everything from cost of living to things to do. Watch till the very end because it will most likely save you countless hours of research before you go and visit this country. So let's go. So we're Australian citizens, and for entry to Indonesia, we can visit this country for 1 month. But the problem was that we wanted to stay longer than a month. So that's the reason why we had to actually get a visa on arrival and pay for it. And on top of that, then you are able to get an extension. All of this cost money, was around $215 for the 3 of us. And not only that, the Indonesian immigration website was not very user-friendly at all, and that made navigating this whole process quite challenging.
We started off our journey first coming to Bali, and for you to come specifically to Bali, you have to pay an entry fee, which was $33 for 3 of us.
And on top of that, they make you do a whole bunch of forms that you've got to fill out. It just makes the whole process overall quite cumbersome. So that's one thing you need to know before coming to Indonesia, especially if you want to stay here for a bit longer. So in comparison, when we went to Malaysia, we got a 3-month visa on arrival, which basically cost nothing. And when I compared to Vietnam, we had to pay a fee, but the whole process for 3 months was so easy through their immigration website.
But I think for Indonesia in particular, they have implemented all these rules and regulations because of the fact that there's a lot of demand of people coming in Indonesia, specifically in Bali, and you don't want too many people flocking your country and just, overwhelming the whole system. So there is good, there is bad, depends what you want to do. For those who are new to our channel, we are Nabeel and Zenesta, and last year we quit our jobs and left our comfortable life in Australia to do an adult gap year with our daughter. Our purpose for this adult gap year is to travel the world while we build our freedom-based business.
Traffic in Indonesia, whether it's Bali or Jakarta, is actually quite hectic. The roads are quite narrow and there are a lot of cars, and that basically means that there are times when you'll be in gridlock traffic waiting for a long time. Just to give you one simple example, when we were in Bali, we were in Uluwatu, and it takes around 20 minutes to get to this place called Kuta. And this one time when we were coming back, we just got stuck in traffic and it took us 2.5 hours to reach our resort. So yeah, that's one thing you definitely need to keep in mind, that sometimes the traffic can eat up a lot of time.
But you know what, we have watched enough videos and learned through enough blogs to understand how difficult the traffic situation is either in Bali or in Jakarta. So what we have done is, when we came to Jakarta and we settled there for a longer period of time, we ensure that whatever amenities that we want to avail, we are closer to those. For example, the school where our daughter is going to, our home is very close to that school, so that we don't have to navigate the traffic. We have other amenities around our areas where we can do our groceries and all the shopping essentials.
Indonesia has some really great ride-sharing apps such as Grab and Gojek. So every time we are actually traveling without our daughter, we will take motorbikes, which allows us to reach our destination faster. But when we have her with us, we have to take a car. So
don't be afraid to come to Jakarta or Bali. You can plan ahead and plan nicely so that you don't feel the jam that much. Now let's talk about the cost of living in Indonesia. If you are traveling here, beware of inflated prices and tourist traps, specifically in Bali.
Now, when it comes to accommodation prices, we were absolutely surprised by the rent in Bali. We initially wanted to stay there for the entire 2 months, but yeah, it was just so expensive. And some of these places were in the middle of nowhere, where you had to, sort of take a long drive to go to our daughter's school. So it just made absolutely no sense. sense. But I understand, Bali is a very popular tourist destination, and that's the reason why some of these prices are inflated. But yeah, I just was a bit shocked by, the prices there.
Well, I guess, for Bali in general, it's a place where all the digital nomads go, whether you're a solo traveler or a couple traveler, it does make sense. But us as a family, we wanted to go there and enjoy the same things that we have been seeing all over in videos in YouTube. However, we do understand the traffic jam too, so we wanted to be much more closer to where all the schools are. However, the prices just didn't justify for us at all.
So we ended up in Jakarta, and in Jakarta we got a pretty nice house, and which is close to the school. But again, it's still the prices comparing expat location to expat locations in other cities in Southeast Asia that we've lived in. We found it a little bit more like it's pretty par with the prices in Bangkok. And lastly, daily expenses around groceries and eating out. Unless you're going to local street food or local markets, it is not as cheap as you would expect in other cities like Saigon or even Kuala Lumpur.
The income is a bit higher than in comparison to other cities that we have been to. So maybe that is one of the reasons why the living costs are a bit higher over here, which is very good for a country like Indonesia, because that basically shows us that as a country, Indonesia is progressing and has a lot of economic development in the country, which is a very good thing to have. We have found Indonesians to be extremely friendly and hospitable. I cannot get over the fact that whenever you greet a person, they always have a smile on their face, regardless of wherever they are.
But there's definitely a language barrier. So unless you are in like the tourist hotspots in Bali or even in Jakarta, you probably have to use Google Translator, and it's sort of in par with what you would expect, say, in Saigon or some parts of Thailand. And lastly, in terms of the cultural differences, like Jakarta and Bali are sort of quite different. Bali is a predominantly Hindu island, and they're very used to, tourists and foreigners. So it's quite a different vibe compared to Jakarta, which even though it's a metropolitan city, is predominantly Muslim. But Jakarta, what we've noticed is that there are different kinds of people. You've got conservative people, and you've also got a lot of liberal people as well. It's not exactly what we expected. We thought like it will be very, conservative in general, but we actually found a pretty nice mix in the city.
Indonesian food is diverse and delicious, but bear in mind that you do need a bit of time to get used to with the cuisine. For example, a couple of days ago we tried the Padang cuisine, and to be honest, it was something different and we enjoyed it. But I don't know if you can keep on eating that kind of food, but it is a foodie's paradise because you can get lots of different kinds of food here in Indonesia.
But just beware of street food. It can be a bit hit and miss. You did get that stomach bug.
Yes, I think for the past 10 months, I haven't had a bad day. I thought I would get a bad day in Bali because of the infamous Bali belly. But unfortunately, I didn't. But I did in Jakarta, where we tried out a street food in a seafood place, and I ended up getting sick.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But, that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen any other place. It definitely could. We just had a bad day.
But the food, top notch. I really enjoyed having food here. Us coming from a Bangladeshi background, the food, though not similar, but similar in terms of there are curries available here and there. So we didn't have as much trouble that we had in Vietnam, as a matter of fact. So we really enjoyed the food here.
And in terms of weather, just know that, sometimes there could be tropical storms. So it does get floody in certain areas, especially in Jakarta. So just know that you've got to navigate that. But in Jakarta in particular, one of the things we must highlight is that the air pollution is pretty hectic. You can feel it as soon as you head out from your house. It reminds us of our time in Dhaka, Bangladesh, where over there the air pollution is pretty bad as well. So anytime you are out there, having a mask is always recommended. And lastly, in terms of things to do, Indonesia is so diverse as a country. It's a huge country. Not all of the areas we have, explored, obviously. We've mainly been to Bali and Jakarta, but even within these two cities, there are lots of things things to do. So, definitely do check out one of those videos out there which talks about specifically things to do in Indonesia. So there you have it, our honest opinion after living in Indonesia for 2 months. We will definitely be visiting this country again and seeing what else some of these other areas have to offer. Whether we make it our home or not in the future, we just never know.
So if you're someone who wants to live a life of freedom, then we have done an ebook where we talk about the 4 steps that we have taken to curate this gap year for ourselves. I will link it in the description and you can go and have a look.
And we will also put in a link for a free clarity call if you do want to have a discussion with us and talk a little bit further about how this can be a reality for you.
But bear in mind, we are juggling a lot of things at one go, so this is a very limited opportunity on a first come first serve basis.
We also did a similar video about Malaysia. We will link it for you over here if you do want to go and watch that video now.
And finally, if you've come this far, please subscribe to our channel because we want to promote the idea that you do not have to live the template of life dictated by society. You can create your own template of life according to your choice and your preferences. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.
Bye-bye.
Bye.